Up, everybody? So we are doing a weekly Q&A. It's Monday. The world is going crazy, and I'm a little tired, but I'm so stoked to be hanging out with you guys. So let's get cracking. By the way, a couple announcements. The book is out. Obviously, I'm biased on the subject, but there's some pretty amazing things in here about. This took me really like 12, 13 years of building an agency, which I've done since, I don't know, like 2007, keeping clients happy, which, obviously results are a part of it, but it's not as much as most people think. Getting clients without the phone, having an offer that makes people want to say yes and standing out from the noise, exceeding client expectations, getting them to stay, and a bunch of my cool, crazy experiences along the way, building a team, what to do in markets like now, and just building yourself a cool life. So if you haven't grabbed that off of Amazon, I suggest you do. As well, we just had our first little mini workshop for all the people who looking to get assets, which is really, really exciting because we've had people, um, now that they're working smarter in their agency, people have already turned over some assets to them and shown them just how possible this whole thing is. So if you haven't checked that out, check out the pin post. And even if you've been on the fence and you have some questions, shoot me a message. So let's get to the Q&A. Godwin asks, what percentage of your sales come from repeat clients? This is really, really interesting, Godwin, because most people don't know this, but the most important number in your agency is not how many new sales you make. Everybody like it's really obsessed, and I understand it. It's exciting when you go from like nothing to like money in the bank. But if you actually want to do this for the long term, the most important number is the people who stay with you, how long they stay, how much they repeat by, and that's actually the single most important number in business. And it's a huge shortcut because when you understand that, it's easier for you not just to benefit your own business, but you'll help your clients way, way faster, which makes your fees go up. So I would say typical for most agencies is probably zero. Most client, and nobody really talks about this in the industry, but it's very, very true, is that um, usually if you do Facebook ads or SEO or something like this or Google AdWords, you're trying to keep a client as long as humanly possible. And so they usually leave either when they don't need you anymore or they're unhappy, which is the most common scenario. And this takes a toll on your ability to go sell new people when you know everybody who eventually is going to leave unhappy with you. And it creates a really weird thing. I just saw a really heartfelt post from a friend of mine who built a $3 million Facebook ad agency. If you're in this niche, you probably know her. And we worked together. We went through a coaching program together and got really close and knew each other because we were on that journey on the same time. And she blew up her agency, meaning she like let everything go and decided she didn't want to do it anymore. Like just $3 million business overnight, shut down, and thought about committing suicide twice. And that's what really, really can happen in this thing if you do it the wrong way. So a big part of that, I think, and I'm not saying I don't know what's going on with her personally, but I know it takes a toll on your psyche if everybody leaves unhappy. So when you get better at this number, which for most people is like 0 to 35%, and bring it closer to 100, where when people get into your world, they want to stay forever, then what you'll find is it's far, far more enjoyable. And you can't really measure that metric in an agency, but nobody talks about it. And I feel it's like extremely under mentioned and under important. So I would say 0 to 35% is normal, but you really want to shoot for like at least 70% of people like stay with you forever. Um, Hey guys, anyone in here? Facebook ad expert. We got a few of them, Ryan. Peter Sabo is a genius in that. I would suggest connecting with him. Also, in the future, it'll help you if you specify what you're looking for Facebook ads for, or whether you're looking at for like a local business or some kind of online coach or e-commerce. Usually, I find those are different specialties, and not everybody is equally good at all of them. Um, do you keep track, or do you keep track of your sleep? Asked Wally. Well, for me, it's very easy. I'm a new parent, so not enough is the standard, but kind of, I guess, informally. Jonathan, who here successfully does Facebook organic marketing? I would say we do, Jonathan, in a lot of different places. And There's two things that I think will really help you shortcut in that. One is, I'm going to beat this to death in this group, but is your offer. If you have something that like people really want, genuinely need, it's going to make it easier for you. So people like if they do a lot of Facebook marketing organic and it doesn't go anywhere, it's usually because their offer is broken. So they're really good at bringing people in and getting them interested. But then when it gets to the final piece, which is the most important piece, they goof it up. And then the other thing is wherever possible, organize your people into groups, into audience, make them follow a page. Because you'll have far more success long term if you start building relationships kind of one to many. Benjamin, anyone know how to hire trustworthy VAs? Looking for someone trustworthy for Instagram. This is tricky. I'm just going to share my experience with this, Benjamin. Trustworthy VAs, the best way somebody can earn your trust is by actually showing you that you work together well. And I think where most people get it wrong is they hire somebody, which is the traditional way it's doing. And if you follow basically, if you think about it, most people get mediocre results in everything in their life. So if you copy like what the average person does, you're going to also get mediocre results. So don't. So one of the first clues is just don't do it like everybody else. And what most people do is they have an interview. If they like the person, they give them a job, and then they kind of see what happens. I like to kind of compare it to shameless plug. I do write about this in the book. Um, but like if you wanted to play for a new band, would you do a job interview and would they read your resume about the last six bands and ask you a bunch of pointless questions? No, of course not. Like you get out your instruments and you start playing together and you see what it's like to make a little music. For me, the $5 to $10 virtual assistant trial assignment has done wonders. So like I will often hire 20 to 30 VAs at the same time for one trial assignment, and I know that probably like more than half of them will disappear and I'll just never hear from them again. And of those, I'll get four or five who will do a really good job, and then I'll give them a second trial assignment, and it costs me $100 to $200 extra up front, but man, does it save you a lot of headaches. And after 2 weeks, you'll have somebody who's just aced three or four trial assignments. And I always try to keep those trial assignments as real to the real thing as you're actually going to do. And what you'll find is you'll end up with good people the first time. How many of you named your digital marketing agency, or do you just use your own name? I'm really bad at this, and I'm probably the wrong person to ask. I've done it not only not naming it, but like not even putting it in my own name, where it's just they're hiring to for a specific like outcome, and it's really really amazing. But many of the things that we've been told we have to do, like you got to name your thing, you got to set up a website, you got to have a logo, you got to do some SEO on it, you got to have like a content rich website. And I'm not saying those things don't help, they can. But I've had friends, and I would say, like to a certain extent, this mirrors my own journey, but who've hit like $300,000 a month and then decided to build a website and then decided to name their agency. So depending on where you're at, you probably don't need that. If you just get the offer right, a lot of the other details take care of themselves. Um, Alan asked, what got you into starting your agency? To be honest, I was like not thinking ever in my life of doing this. It was 2007. I got started working online. And I had some pretty lean years. My first 2 years, I didn't. I had a friend who had a real estate course. He called me up and just said, "Hey, we're going to sell this real estate course online." I was kind of like, "We? No, you're going to sell your own course." And he's like, "Well, you're good with computers." I'm like, "I don't know how to build a website or sell something." He's like, "Well, you can figure it out." And there were no real like job prospects, so I didn't know what to do. It took me 2 years to get a $47 sale. You never forget the first like, woo, like you did it. And I remember at that point, I had gotten really good at figuring out how to rank with free traffic in Google. And then somebody else asked me if I could do it for them. And I'd never even considered that. And I was like, well, let's do it. And then that just, before I knew it, I was in an agency. People were just asking for this thing. So that's how it got started for me. What's your favorite CRM, Tim? This is just me personally. I hate CRMs. I hate all of them. Though for project management, I most frequently use Asana, so I'm probably not going to give you a good answer for that. So I'm going to just defer that to anybody in the group who has a recommendation. Feel free to share. Roy, anyone ever ran an ad for a local chiropractor? What kind of ad set would you go with? That's not really a clear question. What kind of ad set? Like, do you mean like targeting? How much did you spend? Or what kind of creatives? I will tell you, Stephen and Yen and I partnered on some chiropractic where he was actually in his former life, and he still does a little bit of it. He's in this group. Um, was a chiropractor himself, so he even if he doesn't want to work with him anymore, or maybe he does, I don't know, but he can tell you like what they really care about and what's important to them. Because with any type of client you're going to get, they don't value business equally, so you always want to shoot for what's the most valuable type of like kind of patient to them. Do do do. Kiana, how would you get clients starting out if you don't know how well you can get results for them as a startup business? Ooh, Kiana, I've been there. We actually had this discussion on our first little workshop, and it was interesting because when you're first getting started, the hardest part is like between your ears. Everybody thinks it's like getting clients or things like that, but usually it's like you lack the confidence and certainty. Just know you can sell something and get a result. And I would say if you're in that space, one of the simplest things you could do is find somebody who's already getting results in a space and ask if you can like partner or white label and use all their like kind of borrowed stuff, and that will allow you to be able to sell it with confidence and know that you can deliver. And once you get the first one off your back, it's a whole lot easier. And it'll also help you because usually in the beginning what stops a lot of people is you don't actually know what kind of client you're going for. Like you don't have clarity about it. So you're just like anyone who will give me money for Facebook ads, or anyone who will give me money for Google AdWords, or anyone who will pay me for SEO. It's really, really hard to get somebody like that. But if you have somebody who says, I'm getting really, uh, cheap open house Facebook leads for real estate agents, for example, and we're getting them for $10 a piece. That makes it really go really easy. Firstly, because you know that you're talking to realtors, so you can go where realtors hang out and you can say who's interested in getting, open house people for $10 a person or whatever. So they're easier to find, and then they're easier to persuade as well because you like you know how to talk to them. So that's what I would say. If you're not clear about which client, go find somebody who's already getting results and figure out a way where you can make a little bit reselling their stuff just to get the monkey off your back and seeing how they work and seeing how their systems work, because figuring it out yourself will take you years. James asks who can make a killer website. Talk to the birthday boy himself, Michael Barnesy, um, Dr. Michael Barnesy. Yeah, he's just gotten into making really, really amazing websites for people. Obviously, built gazillions of his own over the years. So I would send you his way. Rob, I'm trying to reach marketing agency owners with at least one member of staffs. Any suggestions or targeting? Uh, you thinking about using LinkedIn? Rob, this is really, really interesting because certainly there's targeting ways to go after agency owners, but the biggest thing is if you focus on problems that somebody with one staff member would have. Like for example, like is that one staff member, are they in person or are they a virtual assistant? I can tell you, like for example, when you start working with virtual assistants in your agency, the biggest problem you have is they like people disappear on you or don't have your quality or your standards. So if somebody like leads with that issue, does your virtual assistant lack the kind of quality or standards you do, or did they just disappear on you? You're going to get my attention, right? So um, people forget that successful people have problems too. Like when I'm dealing with lawyers, for example, my beginning ads all were like something along the lines of like, do you need more clients? Are you having trouble keeping the lights on and things like that? And do you need to do something quickly? And I didn't really think about it at the time, but who did that attract? Well, if you really, really desperately need business, you're attracting like mostly broke people who don't have any business. And so I would get either beginning lawyers or lawyers who were just finally getting on the internet after like 30 years of practice. And they were really sometimes hard to move the needle for because they were way, way behind. Now, if I ran an ad today that said something like to the effect of have your TV commercials gone over $1,000 per signed case, that's a big problem for a lot of big TV lawyers who spend hundreds of thousands of dollars as that competitors move in and it makes it more and more expensive, and it takes them longer for their ads to work, and they got to spend a lot of places. And so that's kind of like front of mind for them, is that, especially because they're in a business where it takes them like usually anywhere from like 6 to 18 months to get paid. So that's like a lot of money to put out for a long time when you spend hundreds of thousands of ads, and then you got to wait almost 2 years to get paid sometimes. So cash flow starts to take a hit. So that's why they really are really obsessed with that number. So I used to be able to do this, by the way, when I would target like lawyers. It didn't matter how I did it. It was the messaging that actually, like, if you think about fishing, whatever bait you use is going to determine what jumps up out of the water. So before you think like it's just a targeting thing, and I'm not saying that targeting doesn't matter, but it's usually not a targeting thing. It's usually speaking to problems. If you're having a scenario where you're getting people, and they're more like people that are just solo agency owners, and you're trying to reach people with at least one employee, you're not talking to issues about, like, that somebody with one employee would have. So if you do that, that gets easier. um, Rob, how does everyone accept foreign or international payments? I have a prospect looking to pay me that is in the UK. um, PJ, there's two. Well, it sounds like, I'm assuming that for one reason or another you can't use PayPal, or either like they're too expensive or whatever, and you're looking for an alternative. So Stripe lets you set whatever currency you want, so you can choose whatever currency you want to get paid in if you use Stripe as well. And you can integrate Stripe for free with Zoho payments, so like it'll collect from your clients automatically if you got those like recurring things. And as well, if they just want to send you the money, you can use TransferWise. They have the lowest fees in the space. So those are the ones that work the best. And I guess that's all the questions we got for this week. I'm probably going to go for a little naparooski here. It's about 1 o'clock my time right now, a little early for most of you guys, I know. And like I said, if you haven't bought the book or read it, there are so many gems in this book. So check that out. And if you're seriously like ready to build an agency that actually keeps people that are happy, and pay you for a long, long, long time. Most people don't think about that, but like in an agency, typically if your clients stay every 3 to 6 months, which is like very normal, like 90 days is right around the average. That means every 90 days you got to restart your business, and you're like endlessly grinding. And so this new offer is really about getting out of the grind and getting into a space where your income actually starts to go somewhere and stays that way permanently, which is way, way more fun in the long term. It takes, why after 90 days rebuild it? Why not the next 90 days after the first 90? You should double what you're doing, and then triple it, and then however far you want to take it. And there's a real, real shortcut to doing that. So if you're interested, check that out. Read the book. And I guess I will see you guys next week. And thank you for the wonderful questions.